Welcome to Connect for Health, the podcast and webinar series that helps you live a healthier, more empowered life in partnership with Cigna Healthcare and supporting by mentl. I'm Scott Armstrong. I'm the founder of mentl, a platform dedicated to tackling the stigma of mental health. And with me, as always, is my fabulous co-host, Maissa Al Khafajy, the Head of Government Affairs and Strategic Communications for Cigna Healthcare Middle East and Africa. Welcome back. Now, today we're going to have lots of interactivity if you're tuning in live. So we want lots of questions because today's topic is really close to my heart and I need to stop this turning into a personal session for me. So we want your questions. Today we're discussing men's health, and in particular, men's mental health as well, and what impact does that have on our physical health. And our guest today is none other than Dr. Ed Cody, who is a consultant family medicine with Mediclinic Middle East. And his experience is around acute medicine, mental health, so he's got so many insights, which we can't wait to dig into that. Maissa, welcome back.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you for that introduction. Before we deep dive into today's session, I just wanted to share some very important information about Cigna's Patient Support Program. Now, we understand that the everyday hustle and bustle of daily life can actually overshadow what really matters. That's your health and well-being. And we want to encourage everyone to take the time for preventative screening as part of any wellness benefits that you may have, or seek medical advice as soon as any potential symptoms occur, because early detection greatly increases the chance for successful treatments. And the DHA, or the Dubai Health Authority, has mandated cancer screening for everyone. So all our Cigna Middle East and Africa members can check the Cigna Envoy app or the website for specific benefits. You may have a wellness benefit that enables you to access cancer preventative screening. And even if you don't, rest assured, if you present with any symptoms that may prompt a cancer screening, you will be covered by your regular medical plan. And with that, welcome.
Dr. Ed, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Can I call you Ed? Is that all right?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Dr. Ed, I'll go by whatever.
Well, we'll start with Dr. Ed. So we're talking about men's health today and how they can sort of empower themselves. But let's talk with the kind of the helicopter view, sort of at the coal face. What are you seeing on a daily basis? I mean, is it physical injuries from all the wrestling and chopping down trees that we do? Or is there a different dimension to it these days?
Well, that's the really, really exciting part about my job. I never know what's going to come through my door next. And that's what I love about it, because it keeps the suspense. We're obviously seeing lots of coughs, colds and flus, the general family medicine stuff. But what I'm seeing increasingly is the patients presenting with slightly vague symptoms, symptoms where potentially the patients haven't read the medical textbooks for the classic presentations of tummy pains or headaches or fatigue, those kind of symptoms. And what I'll often do is have a really, really good chat with my patients first, find out what's happening in their lives, I'm really, really nosy. I love to know what's going on with other people. I like to know who I'm talking to. And then we get into the medical nitty-grittiness of it all, go through their symptoms, rule out anything really, really important, maybe organise some investigations. Now, a lot of my patients at this stage come back without any red flags in their symptoms. The investigations all come back fairly normal, and then we have to question a little bit more about what else might be causing their symptoms. And what we're seeing increasingly is that it's psychologically driven presentation of physical symptoms. So, for example, patients presenting maybe with tension headaches due to chronic stress or irritable bowel syndrome, where their tummy is responding to signals driven by their brain and the psychological stress that they're under at that time.
We were talking off camera, and you were actually telling me that 60% of the cases you see, that the psychological is in play rather than just the physical.
Now, not 100% due to their symptoms, okay, but most of my consultations, there is some kind of element of mental stresses going on. And even just through chatting to someone, maybe it's a busy full-time mum or a CEO of a company, or even someone who's recently moved to the region who's trying to make it, and they're under such stresses, and they don't realize they're under such stresses, and we find that patients coming in with any reason at all, even like a cough that might be caused by an underlying kind of postnasal drip, stress related. Yeah.
Can I just ask, could you kind of like show how, once you've perhaps touched upon the fact that it may be something that is, their mental well-being is under duress, that they perhaps could look into, addressing that a little bit more. What is the kind of response that you get from some of your patients when you kind of open that door?
It's mixed.
Right.
I'm forever trying to read the patient. I'm forever trying to read the room as to how they might respond to these kind of things. Now, I'm a firm believer in just saying what I'm thinking. Now, this gets me in all manner of problems, okay? But I believe honesty is the best policy. And I will open the conversation at an early stage and say, well, what do you think is maybe going on? And then I will say what I think might be going on. And I'm not always right. Patient is not always right, but generally we can meet in the middle and come up with a diagnosis and then an action plan moving forward from there. And that might be something I, as a family medicine doctor, can help sort out. Maybe we do need to get a specialist on board to manage their physical symptoms, or maybe we need to get some additional psychological or psychiatric help on board to deal with any other issues that might be.
So if that ratio was 6 to 10, 60%, I'm going to get statistics.
6 or 10, yeah. Well done. I like it.
You love your numbers.
What percentage of patients walk through the door thinking that might be, or want to talk about the fact that it could be something that is of a psychological nature, or something of a psychological nature may be having an impact? And particularly, if I'm going to break that down even further, what percentage of that percentage are men?
Okay.
That's got to be the most complicated question.
There is an awful lot of percentages there, and my ADHD brain cannot cope.
This is when you put an ADHD host and a guest together.
Yeah.
Exactly. A lot of patients are exceptionally kind of nervous about talking about any mental health problems, and although they might feel that there is an underlying mental health problem, a lot of patients want to come in with an actual physical symptom because it's easier to talk about a headache rather than family problems at home or work stresses. And it's only through building the relationship with your patient that you actually uncover these issues. And that's I suppose that's my goal with my patients, is actually just, instead of just concentrating on the physical, examine the patient as a whole. And I believe you get more out of having conversations with people rather than going through tick box exercises, finding out what is going on in their lives, asking about their kids. People love to talk about themselves, and actually whenever they start to talk, you get more information. Because we only have limited time with our patients as well.
That is true.
You are really, it's an information gathering session, and by making the patient feel comfortable that they're able to talk to me during that time, you get the most information, and then you can give them your thoughts about what else might be going on.
Within that patient body then that you're trying that exercise with, we talk about, because we're focusing on men today.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you find men are opening up about this?
Yeah.
And why do you think perhaps it might be a struggle sometimes for men to open up about this?
Men in general
Yeah.
are terrible about looking after
opening
themselves.
up.
We are so bad. Like I am a man. I am terrible about this. I am the worst patient in the world. So men, the traditional masculine kind of norms show that we shouldn't show weakness. We shouldn't show vulnerability. We man up. Man up is a terrible expression.
Yes,
I know.
yeah.
My two least favorite words in the English language.
Exactly. You know, and you know, we get into gender stereotypes there, and which are so wrong, because actually we shouldn't be dealing in gender stereotypes. We should be dealing in personalities and
Yes,
people. We should be
yeah.
treating everyone as a whole. But in general, men are terrible about looking after their physical and their mental health. So if someone's wife or partner or kids ever tell them to go and see a doctor, I would very, very strongly take that advice,
Yes.
because they are generally right. They can see.
Do you feel that from the patients that present themselves within your clinic that a lot of them have just allowed things to just fester and pile up to the point where it is actually, you know, that's it. It's quite presentable from a physiological point of view, you know, whether it's pain, whether it's fatigue, whether it's,
Well, that's the male way of doing things,
Yeah.
isn't it? No, it shouldn't be. Men will generally not come to the doctor unless something is leaking or
Yes,
falling
yeah,
off,
yeah.
that it shouldn't be leaking or falling off. And
Should anything be leaking or falling off?
generally, things should not be leaking or falling
Yes,
off.
yeah.
Please come and see your doctor before things leak or fall
Yeah.
off.
If you have one takeaway from today, if something's leaking or falling off, go and see your doctor.
Men in particular, they don't want to waste the doctor's time. They don't want to go if they feel that their problem might be insignificant.
Yeah.
And as a family medicine doctor now for the last 15 years, and with 5 years training before that, I have seen thousands of patients. And I can honestly say I have never had one patient along that way who has wasted my time.
Yeah.
Because if it's something that you are worried about, okay, and it's causing you any concern at all, then I would far rather you get it checked out. I would far rather go through 5 minutes to make sure everything is okay with
Yeah.
you, and then we spend the rest of the consultation talking about life.
I have a question. Sorry, Scott.
Yeah, go.
It just literally just came to mind. How often do these consultations happen with both partners present?
Ooh, a few times a day.
Right.
And
Interesting.
Whenever I see, obviously, a couple in the waiting room, I
yeah.
will always invite the other half there, because it's the same with women as well too. I'll always invite their husbands in if they want to. Obviously, the patient is the boss here. Now, I did make a mistake at one stage. There was what I thought were a couple in the waiting room, but what I didn't realize is the couple had literally just broken up within a few hours before the consultation.
Oh my gosh.
And they wanted to talk about each other, and I invited the two of them into the room at the same time, and that was they made it very clear they did not want to come in together. So, I often think it's useful to get a third party perspective, because in particular, men, whenever it comes to mental health or stresses, they might not feel comfortable, certainly during the first consultation, to give me the full picture, the full story about what's going on.
What I find really fascinating, and this only is because it resonates on a kind of personal level, is when you say that, you know, patients in general, and within that will be the men as well, don't want to waste your time. And I wonder what's driving that, because I mean, and we both talked about this, but I was recently diagnosed and went through the process of ADHD. And all the way through that process, you feel like, well, this is a sham. I'm making this up. Is there anything really here? I feel, and it comes down to almost like an insecurity issue for me. So what do you think is driving that hesitation, because it's not really about the fact that they don't want to waste your time. I think it's something deeper, isn't it? I would say.
I think it has to be, and I'm actually reflecting on my own personal experience. We talked about this earlier on, Scott, that you'd recently been diagnosed with ADHD, and I shared that actually I personally had been diagnosed with ADHD within the last couple of weeks, and in order to get that diagnosis, I had to go and speak to a psychiatrist, and the idea of me going to speak to a psychiatrist, I found it the most intimidating process in the world. I got my blood pressure checked on the way in, and I was, I could feel myself tensed up. My blood pressure was through the roof, and I find this particularly as a clinician. You know, we as clinicians, we're meant to be superhuman. We're not meant to show any signs of weaknesses or vulnerabilities. We're meant to sit across from the patient, across the desk, wearing a sharp suit and just scratch our chin. Interesting, and then come up with a diagnosis and a management plan. And I felt as a human being myself that and as a man, the idea of going to speak to someone and show my vulnerabilities, wear my heart on my sleeve, and expose myself to a potentially life-changing diagnosis, I find this a massively intimidating process, and it's something I think as healthcare workers, we should be getting a bit better at, is trying to normalize these discussions, break down the stigmas involved with any kind of health problems or in particular mental health problems.
I think it's fascinating as well because you're a clinician. You kind of know the science. Like you know that, well, in this case, ADHD is a actual recognised neurological condition. So you know the science behind it in a way, and yet you still struggle to kind of lean in and be part of that process.
It shouldn't be any different from going to see an orthopedic surgeon about your sore knee, but still, it's still triggered with me that actually maybe it is.
Doesn't that show us how deeply rooted that stigma still is, even when we're open-minded to it? Yeah,
and I suppose then we also have to consider kind of cultural sensitivities as well. I'm from Ireland, where we are getting better at talking about our mental health, but in a lot of Arab cultures here, in particularly, men don't want to show their vulnerabilities, even though they are under considerable stresses.
I wanted to ask about clinically, patients who present with underlying or what you would think is, probably mentally, kind of, I'm losing my words here,
No, you don't.
That basically impedes their mental well-being. What do those physiological symptoms look like for patients who walk through your door within your practice and they complain of XYZ? Usually, what are those symptoms? What do they look like?
They come on a spectrum. Okay. So symptoms people might experience are headaches, abdominal pains, numbness, weakness, fatigue is a big one. We can sometimes pick these things up whenever they come in to us as well. We would notice maybe someone's blood pressure is significantly elevated. They might have high cholesterol. Something I'm actually noticing, and I'm kind of opening up the conversations with, is actually a lot of people come in fatigued, and they might have weight changes, i.e. an inability to lose weight. They say, look, I'm exercising, I'm eating healthily, but I'm still, the dials on the scales are not changing. And on the other end of the spectrum, you get people who are maybe very, very slight people who are not able to gain weight. And maybe that's due to under-eating, due to their stress levels going on. Whenever the human is stressed, we produce this hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone. Now, a little bit of stress, a little bit of cortisol is, I believe, quite a useful reaction. It's a useful chemical in our body because it puts us into a state of readiness and awareness. However, prolonged exposure to cortisol, it makes our bodies stressed out in itself. It puts us into kind of our prehistoric brain where we kind of feel that maybe there might be like a famine around the corner. So it makes us actually conserve our energy and conserve our calories. So this is why I believe that a lot of people, whenever they come in, inability to lose weight, I'll ask them, well, what else is going on? Are you stressed out? You know, maybe there might be a bit of burnout there. Like I feel like I'm forever talking about me, but I moved here from Ireland 3 years ago. I was a managing partner in the biggest practice in the country at that stage, and then I had a 1-year-old daughter. We were in the middle of a house refurb. We had financial issues as well. We had plenty of stress going on. I was working all the hours of the day. I was doing overnight shifts in a out of hours general practice as well, and I have no problems about admitting at that stage I was burnt out. I was 106 kilograms. I'm now 81 kg, and I wasn't looking after myself. I was eating exceptionally badly. I wasn't exercising. I really wasn't prioritizing myself at that stage. And I think this kind of story makes, I will often tell my patients this story, you know, just about how we can our mental stresses can really affect our physical well-being.
They really can. Yeah.
You've perfectly set me up for our first poll of the day. So in a minute, you'll see some questions appear on the screen. Please, we want to know your thoughts. Just a reminder to those who are watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast, on the catch-up, you can't take part in the polls or the interactivity or post the questions, and you really should. So if you want to join us live next time, please reach out to Cigna Healthcare on details of membership and how you can register to join us next time around. So hopefully now you've got the questions. How often do you check in on your mental health? And I'm going to be really fascinated on what the results on this one are. So A, regularly, I'm proactive about it. B, occasionally when I'm stressed. C, rarely, I tend to bottle things up. Or D, never really thought about it. So please vote now. We'll give you a minute or two. We'll just have a quick conversation and then we'll come back and see the results. I'm going to ask you, the doctor who talks about mental health, how often do you now, and have you learnt this, check in on your mental health?
It's something, as I've developed more experience in mental health awareness, it's something I'm getting a bit better at. I'm not perfect. But I understand that by not checking in on my own mental health, it impacts every aspect of my life. It impacts my social, my physical health. So I think I would put myself in the B category there.
The occasionally when I'm stressed.
Yeah.
Can I ask whether there were any particular, I don't know, tools or things that you used? Because more and more people are now talking about things like journaling, meditation, doing things where you slow the mind and slow everything else that happens and you reflect on the thoughts that are within your mind on the daily. Sometimes it's just before you go to bed or you set aside first thing in the morning. Is there anything that you felt that perhaps helped with you, or are there any things that you feel you would advise people to...
No, I just want to bring the audience in on this one because they've just asked a very, very similar question related.
Okay.
So, and just to talk about the results, actually, 46.2% of you say you bottle things up. A further 29% said never really thought about it. And then the 22% occasionally. Do you know how many people are proactive about checking in on their mental health? 3.2% of the people on this today. So
It's not really insightful.
isn't it? And so to go to Maissa's question, but also Maria Fernandez, she's asked the question, how do we actually check on our mental health? And then
What does that
Anuj
look
has
like?
also asked, how do we achieve that daily discipline when you're overwhelmed day to day? So these questions are all kind of interrelated. So sorry to bring the audience
I
in,
set
but
the tone.
Great questions, Maria and Anuj. Keep them coming.
So how do we check in
Yeah,
on our
that's a
mental
great
health?
place for it.
Yeah, and this is where people are so interesting. No one is the same. Okay, how do we check in on ourselves? For me, I generally have quite good insight into my own personality. I know whenever I'm a bit stressed out, okay? But some people don't have that insight, and this is where people around you are really, really useful. I speak to your whoever is at home with you and say, do you any concerns, any worries? We should be checking in on each other.
Yeah.
Employers should be checking in on their employees.
Welcome to that. Big one for me.
Yeah. Friends, peers, everyone should be talking. And this is, I suppose it's part of the agenda today is to break down the barriers with mental health. I think we should be making mental health a coffee table conversation rather than a HR desk issue. You know, I think we should be checking in frequently, trying to address problems at an earlier stage, trying to deal with a problem before it actually becomes a problem. And just asking yourself, am I actually okay here? What are my current worries? What are my current stresses? Am I being the best version of myself? And if the answer is no to any of those questions, then how do we get ourselves better?
So to come back to Maissa's question as well, because it's fascinating as well, because like mentl, we developed this little quick questionnaire tool, which it's basically the core 10. That it's a series of questions you're asked if you walk across to see a therapist to kind of determine how you are. And so we've kind of got a public facing version of that. And every time we use it in a workshop, it's amazing how they're always kind of like, when they see their score, which often indicates that they're actually more stressed. And the minute you ask them, go, was that score a surprise? They were like, no, actually, I kind of thought that. But now that I've seen it, now that I've checked in and I know it's there and it's quantifiable, I'm going to do something about it. How do we encourage people? Like, what works for you? Maissa was talking about journaling and tools. And back to Anuj's question, like how we build it in. What are those shortcuts that how can we, because to build any habit, we need to, I can't remember what the science is. You have to keep doing it for a series of days.
30 days, I think it was.
I want to shut up now then. Answer.
Well, for me, it was about actually looking after my physical health at this stage. Okay, so I actually felt I was being really hypocritical. I was trying to give all this wellness advice to patients about physical and mental wellness, and I wasn't doing it myself. So for me, something massive had to change. So I started exercising. I woke up early in the morning. I get up at 5 o'clock now every morning, and I go to the gym. I'm not like a very high flying athlete, but I enjoy a bit of cardio, a bit of weightlifting. I enjoy the discipline that it gives me. I enjoy the endorphins you get after the exercise, and it gives me a bit of a glow for the rest of the day, knowing that I've achieved this, and it gives me then the mental resilience to cope with the chaos of a day in the life in the UAE. Which there's lots of things that we can't predict along the way, and we do need that resilience to get through.
Anuj asked, what's one small realistic habit that every man can start today that can have the biggest long-term impact on their mental health? Given that we know that, basically mental health and physical health is all part of one system, all health is mental health and vice versa. Is physical exercise a great way for guys just to start taking control? Because once that they get the benefits of those endorphins, they can clear some mental space to then start having that conversation.
generally speaking, Scott, I would say physical health is very, very favorable for our mental and physical health. Obviously, there are the small proportion of people who might take it to extremes, which I don't believe is healthy. No. But trying to get your 150 minutes of physical exertion a week, I believe is very, very helpful. Now, for me, I go to the gym. Some people absolutely hate doing the gym. Okay, so trying to build it into your lifestyle, make it something that you enjoy doing. And look, we're all time pressurized. We have work, we have family lives as well. So if you can try to manage it in a way where you're incorporating all this in together, for example, going to play football with your kids or something like that, then get moving that way. It doesn't have to be pounding the treadmill. Yeah. Because some people absolutely hate that. It's not good for your mental health.
No, I'm not into the treadmill.
But yeah, look, I understand that by me giving this advice, a lot of people are really, really, really busy out there. The idea of spending an hour and a half a week when they don't have an hour and a half a week. They don't have time to go to the toilet during the day.
Yes, that's true.
So, but it's about trying to build these kind of little breaks into the day to decompress from the stresses of life.
So given that, all of us, but many included these days as well, I mean, we're here to work. We're often in office jobs 9 to 5, 9 to 5:30, and we're sat in a seat for a lot of that day. But I worked on a study, and Dr. Brendan Stubbs, who's an amazing doctor.
Are you going to give me more statistics?
I'm going to give you statistics. Okay, go for it. And I'm going to possibly get it wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've got this right. They found that 15 minutes and 8 seconds of physical exercise had a beneficial impact on your mental health. I don't know why the 8 seconds was so important.
Absolutely.
But 15 minutes and 8 seconds.
If you go over 8 seconds, it's obviously detrimental. Okay, do not set the timer.
Set it off. But how the practical things that we can do, even if it's like go for a walk at lunchtime or take your lunch break and move a bit in the day. What are the practical ways we can build in a little bit of physical exercise into our days that can help our mental health?
Well, look, always take your breaks, okay? You are much, much more productive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Please take the time to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Okay.
You heard it here first.
Exactly. I'm sure there might be a urological podcast in the future. Always take a break. You are more productive by doing this.
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned going outside, going for a walk. Investing in a standing desk if you're able to do so. Investing in walking pads. My wife recently got a massive walking pad which takes up far too much room in our house, but I can't tell her to get rid of it because it is a good thing.
Is this the bit that we edit out for you afterwards?
Yes, please. But we just won't send her the link. Yeah. Get up, get active, get moving. Walk to the coffee shop. Walk to the water chiller. Have a conversation with your peers. Always take the time to decompress.
So I wanted to ask something. We were talking about what would you advise to do during the day. Now, what happens at night? Sleep seems to be an issue for many people. And I'm sure with some of the patients that, walk through your doors, you did say fatigue. What are the things that you would advise for someone who is complaining of fatigue or is suffering from sleep, and how would that affect things on the daily? It's a given it would have some effect on their focus, on their thinking, on their mental clarity. Yeah.
Sleep is so important to us. It's where the brain takes the time to repair and process and learn from its experiences during the day.
Yeah.
And so often we have so many pressures in life that actually we don't prioritize our sleep. how do we improve our sleep? First
Right.
of all, even having the conversation about our sleep, and then really trying to make it a priority in our timekeeping, daily tasks. How often do you look at your social media just before going to sleep at night? And this is, it's so disruptive to our natural sleep kind of rhythms. Whenever you're looking at a screen, you're getting the blue light, which disrupts our melatonin, which is the
Yes.
natural sleep
Yeah.
hormone.
Yeah.
But then also, if you're looking at social media, for example, you're getting, you're increasing the cortisol, you're increasing the you get a dopamine hit
Yes,
because dopamine is a pleasure hormone. And the last thing you want to do is be stimulating the brain in the hour or so before
And
winding
social
down.
media is actually designed exactly to do that as well as
Oh my goodness, yeah.
algorithmic.
To keep
it's
you
the
on
same
longer.
science as Las Vegas in a way.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you're just getting dopamine hit after dopamine hit, and then you want more and more and more of it because it is the pleasure hormone that we experience, and so really. And I'm as guilty of it as anyone. I do have my phone on my bedside table, and sometimes I will be checking my Instagram, which I've got 3 followers on now.
We'll make sure he has more by the end of this. Yes, yes.
Terrible.
But then that's only going to keep him awake. Love
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
love
Yeah.
that.
So,
So doctor's orders, no Instagram before bed then.
well, I would say really trying to have the wind down time before going to sleep
Yeah.
at night. Making your bedroom your haven, soft lighting, somewhere you feel really comfortable to relax. We talk about sleep hygiene, and this is
Yes.
really about having that proper wind down time. If you're able to go to sleep straight away, then that's brilliant. If you weren't able to go to sleep, is the last thing I want you to be doing is staring at a clock, looking at every hour in the night. Is actually to maybe get up, and go for a short walk, and then around the house, and then try again. It's a really, really horrible sensation, insomnia. I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but I thankfully don't experience it too often. But
Right.
It's something I've struggled with pretty much all my life and spend a lot of my life self-medicating. And some of that is connected to the ADHD. So yeah, I get that. And I'm the person that will just lie in bed all night doing this,
Yes.
and it never goes off. And you get more and more angry with yourself because you're like, I can stop thinking about this and just go to sleep, and you can't, so you get more and more frustrated. That comes back to how impactful it is. I mean, I love that about get up and do something.
a little bit, yeah. You don't want to be
Too stimulated.
Yeah, too
Yes,
stimulated.
yeah.
But the last thing I want you to do is just lying there annoying yourself.
Have you tried journaling or the science of journaling? Because again, Maissa was talking about journaling, because I know, like, if I can get stuff out of my head before I go to bed, all those things that I'm going to, particularly with the way my brain works, is I'm going to try and keep remembering. And the reason perhaps I can't fall asleep is because I know with my condition, I'm going to forget about everything. So I constantly keep telling me, I've got to do this tomorrow, I've got to do this tomorrow, I've got to do that tomorrow. How is it, whether it be journaling or even just doing yourself a to-do list for tomorrow, even like on Siri on your phone, say, because you can do reminders on
You
Siri,
can do, yeah.
which I've started using just to go, remind me at 9 a.m. to do this. But getting that stuff out of your head before you go to bed.
This is where people are individuals. For me, journaling just does not work at all. I cannot
Doesn't
do it
either, but I know that a lot of people say that it does, so that's why I threw the
exactly.
question
And
to you.
I completely get where you're coming from, Scott. In that you get these thoughts out of your head, you've got them written down, and now you can switch your brain off. For me, I don't know. I do my best thinking in the shower in the morning. It's where I remember all the things that I should have done the day before, and I kind of have that sense of clarity to plan out my day at that stage. But yeah, like, everyone's individual. Everyone has their own techniques for coping and for helping their sleep.
Anuja's been asking some great questions. I'm playing my interrupting card again, as well as the.
Go for it.
But he asked a great question as well, which also I wanted to expand on as well, just for the sleep argument. But in general, how do men's mental health symptoms differ from women's? And how do you think we also approach something like sleep? Because I mean, I know so many driven male entrepreneurs who have this, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Well, actually you might, you know.
Well, yeah, you will, but it's not
So
the most
what's
helpful.
that male approach to sleep and looking after ourselves and coming back to that, being uncomfortable about even talking about this? And what are the differences? Are there differences in the way that we process all of these emotions and factors?
Yeah, men present differently with their mental health issues that they won't tell you what's going on, and we have to dig a bit harder to scratch the surface to find out what is going on. High blood pressure, insomnia, headaches, physical symptoms more than mental. Expressly telling me what is going on with their mental and their social lives. The whole culture, let's power on, let's pull all-nighters, getting this task done, is something I really think we need to address as a society. We shouldn't be applauding this kind of behavior at all. I believe. I think we should try to plan our day appropriately, that we're able to do a sensible amount of the tasks, and then prioritize our well-being. And I think actually we should be applauded for looking after ourselves more than pulling all-nighters.
You were going to mention something about the whole supporting employees when it comes to...
I was. Before I do that,
Right.
I wanted to actually ask you a question.
Okay.
Just while we're on this, I mean, you're a very driven, successful woman, but you also have a lot of empathy. And women tend to have a greater degree of empathy. Does that extend to empathy towards yourself? And is that something that men struggle with? Is that empathy towards ourselves?
I think coming from a mother, like being a female, but also from a mother's perspective, the empathy is there, but you're always willing to give it out to others, but not so much to yourself. There is that recognition that, yes, you should be doing, yourself a favor. You should be allowing more time. You should be saying no, drawing the line and the boundaries. But sometimes it is very difficult to do that. And I just think it looks slightly different for women. They recognize it, but then again, they will not prioritize it because they're too busy worried about others, but rather than themselves.
The thing which springs to mind here is whenever you're on an aeroplane and they say, put your own life vest on before dealing with or oxygen mask.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And as a parent, how guilty are we? We prioritize our time with our kids. We always have to have them having full social lives and agenda to the detriment of our own mental health. And I actually think we need to learn to become a little bit more selfish. And we really got
self-care is not selfish.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I think we have to. And be that with your kids, be that with your employer or family pressures. But sometimes a little bit of you time is just what the doctor ordered.
Yes.
So we're going to bring you back in as well. It's time for our second poll. And then after the poll, we've had a flood of questions for you. So we will try and power through them for you. Be patient with us. So second poll of the day, and this kind of relates to what we're talking about. What's the hardest part about putting your mental health first? And basically overall well-being first as a man? And is it time and workload? Is it fear of being judged? Is it not knowing where to start, or is it thinking it's not a big deal? Interesting question. I want to know your thoughts. And while you were all answering that, I'm going to get one of these questions from you guys. Osman, Omar, you've asked me a great question as well. The first poll, you said, got me to consider being more proactive about it. What is your advice to go about it? Are there any recommended health facilities in the Middle East for us countries to check in with? Because also another question I saw come in as well, talking about the importance of awareness. So how important is awareness, but also how can people just get started with this? And I want to bring this other question as well. Recommendations for men's health screening. How often should they be doing that, even from a physical point, because that physical male screening can then help them connect to their mental health as well. So how often should we be doing the screening? And then back to that other first question as well, which is, the most effective way for...
How do we access mental health help? Okay. So slightly complex here. There's lots of different kind of healthcare policies out there. But initially, I would say is consult with your policy, see what benefits you have with regards to mental health benefits, have a chat with your HR. You might have employee assistance schemes, which I know we have a helpline that we can phone up whenever we're feeling stressed out, or and that's often someone who can point you in the right direction as well for your individual needs. Please come in and have a chat with us as doctors, be it just anyone you feel comfortable with doing so. As a family medicine doctor, I deal with all manner of physical and health issues and mental health issues. So please come in and open the dialogue that way with me. If it's something I can deal with, I can give you a few different options of what we can do, be it just monitor it, be it direct you towards some talking therapies, or even considering along the lines of some medication options if needs be. I often think if we can deal with things naturally, it's always the best way to do it, but we keep the medication in reserve. However, some patients do need that, and that's a conversation that we should be having. We can refer to psychology or psychiatric services, and oftentimes here in the UAE, you can actually access these straight. You don't direct access. You don't necessarily need a referral.
The results of the poll actually really highlight the question from Ishwar, who was talking about how important awareness is, because actually only 1/3 of the respondents, 30%, said that time and workload is the thing that stops them from, looking after themselves. One, thinking it's not a big deal. That's like 1 in 5 of the people out there, not knowing where to start, or indeed a fear of being judged. And it feels like awareness. And that is literally 70% of the respondents today saying that's what stops them. That feels like awareness and education has a really big part to play.
I think that we really need to make massive cultural shifts to break down the barriers with mental health. And it's something actually I think the podcast like this has been so good that we're able to open the dialogue with regards to mental health and getting rid of the saying, man up.
Absolutely. I also, this is a fascinating question as well. I'm sorry, I'm just, these guys that come here, but Sridhara, sorry if I've mispronounced your name, but Sridhara has actually asked, I think, a really pertinent question here as well, which is, what is the most effective way for a person to support their partner, a man who's concerned about their mental health issues?
Talking, quality social interactions, asking them simple questions, open-ended questions. How was your day? And then, as men, sometimes we might just say it was fine. Okay, I go out to get my patients from the waiting room, and I will always ask them, "How are you?" And they might look dreadful. They might have temperatures of 40 degrees and they're cold and clammy, and they will 95% of the time say, "I'm fine," and I'll say, "Are you actually fine?" Okay. And it's often these kind of slightly more probing questions that kind of get us the answers of what we really need. If something isn't right, just say it as it is. I think, we oftentimes we don't really deal with the elephant in the room. And I believe that the best approach is actually just to tackle the elephant head on. and just say, actually, Scott, you look a little bit stressed or something like that. You know, so just
everyone says that all the time. Sridhar has asked another question as well, which kind of comes back to you were talking about EAPs as well, which I think is really, really fascinating. She's asking what resources such as hotlines, online therapy modalities are available for men, and what strategies to be employed to enhance their visibility and accessibility. Well, I suppose this is one of them by, again, awareness and education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, there is employee assistance schemes. Now, they are not medical, I suppose, but they're more just someone to talk to and maybe give you some advice, because oftentimes it's difficult to see the wood from the trees whenever everything in life is on top of you, and just to even point you in the right direction of where to go. There are lots of online health resources. You can book online consultations with psychologists or psychiatrists, or the modern technology is our friend here. There's lots of apps available. I know I have a couple on my phone, and there's a really good one which gives us kind of like guided breathing techniques before going into a stressful environment. Really just to help you decompress that way. There's one which I used to use all the time, and it does these things called sleep stories. We were talking about sleep problems earlier on, and this is it's like story time for adults. And
my wife doesn't need to use that. She just listens to me talk and she's straight off.
I was going to say something, Scott.
I think it's your tone, Scott.
And of course, the other resource you have is going to YouTube or podcast and looking for ConnectForHealth, because we've got so much resource there. And I will also say Mentl's website, mentl.space, mental space. We have so much information and articles on there. So dip your toe in that, because it's hopefully it'll maybe start you asking some questions about your mental health. One last question. Again, I want to prioritize the questions coming in. Many people expect therapy to be a quick fix, but real change takes time. What does the process actually look like, and how can someone stay patient through it and see it through to the end?
It's a good question.
Because it's not easy.
No.
Yeah, it's really, really not easy. Therapy is a buzzword, but we don't really know what therapy is unless you've actually done it yourself. And you really have to connect with your therapist, because you are going to talk about things that you do not feel comfortable about talking about. You're going to have to delve into parts of your memory from your childhood, that things that you have probably put in a box in the back of your mind, and you don't want to think about it anymore. And this is often it's often these things which are actually causing the current day stresses. So you're going to have to really, really connect with your therapist. You're going to have to talk about everything which is going on at the moment, and then talk about your past and your childhood and your relationships, and any good things which have happened in the past, any bad things which have happened in the past, and then work on processing these in an effective way to help you deal with your current psychological situation. That's very broad speaking.
Damien, I can see you've asked a question. We're going to get the Cigna team to reach after you out the webinar. So we have seen your question. We will get, because it's Cigna specific, so we will get the team to respond to you on that one. Maissa, we were talking about, and the only thing that's stressing me out is the fact I can see we've got 5 minutes left, and I can carry on this conversation for another hour. The Cigna Healthcare International Health Study found that 84% of UE employees were stressed. And actually, Gen Z, 1 in 20, I think. Yeah, so 20% of Gen Z employees were dealing with unmanageable stress. So what's because we've talked about what people can do at work for themselves, but what's the message to employers here? Because again, you mentioned it earlier, actually people are more productive if they're healthy.
And if they have that dialogue, which I think is extremely important, that employee, employer, or that line manager and, you know, team subordinate, because sometimes everyone's trying to get the work done and trying to meet deadlines and deliverables, that you kind of lose touch with, at the end of the day, that person also has a life, also has commitments or other things that are happening outside the workplace. So I feel it's really, really important to cultivate, because you were talking about cultural shifts, and specifically when we're looking at how everyone is here to make a living and everyone is here to work and everyone is here hustling. So I feel that, you know, the employer, you know, kind of paradigm of having to just...
They have a responsibility to look
that needs
after
to change.
the bigger picture. Yeah, because as you say, we are all, well, a lot of us are expats here. We're here to make better lives for ourselves and our families. But as a result of that, we push each other. Well, we push each other really, really hard, which is sometimes a good thing in short, but we don't know what else, what other people are going through at that moment in time. And Scott, actually, I think the figures that you quoted was 84%.
84%.
Yeah, it's quite a large amount.
But from our conversations earlier on, I actually suspect that is an underreported figure. And actually, I
Wouldn't disagree with you at all.
It's probably going to be more than that. So really, I think as employers, we possibly need to get away from using mental health as a buzzword and wheeling it out for Mental Health Month every year, but actually try to make the cultural shifts within our organizations to really support what we're saying.
I've said it a million times before. Cost of disengaged employees here in the UAE alone, 42 billion a year potentially, 8.2 trillion around the world. Whereas here in the UAE, the cost of embracing wellbeing, employers, if you're listening, $62 billion extra you could be making. So it's a powerful issue.
And probably something for a topic for next time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Time against us. One thing also I wanted to add as well, because Shrida was asking about online sort of hotlines and all that sort of thing. It's worth just telling you that Abu Dhabi government have actually recently launched an app. I believe it's called Sahatna. Just double check me on that one. But that has free mental health screening for everybody. So it doesn't matter if you're in Abu Dhabi or Dubai or Sharjah, wherever you are. That's a tool that will then obviously link to Abu Dhabi mental health practitioners. Or if you go on the Dubai Mental Wealth Framework, they also have a big resource list of all the DHA licensed psychologists and psychiatrists. So they're two places where you can go and look for information. One last thought from you, one takeaway. If you could give men one piece of advice that can enable them to connect with their general well-being and their mental health, what would that be? Mic drop moment. No pressure.
I know. We only got one go at this, okay? We really have to prioritize looking after ourselves, our physical, our mental, our social, our work well-being. Everything is connected. And by trying to get things in balance, we can become the best men that we can really fulfill our potential. So really take pride in yourself and your mental health, your physical health, and your appearance and everything, okay? To become the best man, dad, boss, employee that you can possibly be.
I think he absolutely nailed the mic drop, didn't he?
Thank you.
Unfortunately, that is all our time. Quickly for the viewers, to get those 3 Instagram followers up, how do I follow you, Ed, on Instagram?
Dr_Ed_DXB.
So if there's any questions we didn't get, reach out to Dr.
Please
Ed.
do. Yes.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for all your questions and being really, really engaged as usual. When the webinar closes, there will be the feedback form. Let us know, because that just helps us help you for future. We love your feedback. Feedback is a gift. So once again, from us at ConnectForHealth, thanks for tuning in. And Dr. Ed, thank you for all the insights. It's been amazing.
Thank you so much for having a chat with me. Thank you for listening.